Welcome to another story made by Oracle. 1. The dry autumn wind stirred the dying leaves on the narrow street of Helmswood Lane, their brittle shapes tumbling across cracked pavement as if trying to escape the evening impending gloom. Mara Hayes adjusted the strap of her leather satchel and glanced at the address on her phone. The location was unfamiliar, a little out of her usual real estate circuit, but urgency from a high-paying client had drawn her here. Tonight, she agreed to show a house she had never seen, a last-minute request that felt oddly out of character for her meticulous nature. "You're a pro," she whispered to herself, squaring her shoulders. "How hard can it be to show a place you've never stepped inside?" The house, number 73, was a modest brick structure with creeping ivy thickening its facade. Street lights flickered sporadically, casting long shadows, like fingers beckoning her forward. Mara pulled her wool coat tightly around her and stepped up the rickety wooden porch steps. She glanced at her phone's navigation screen. It was an old app, the type contractors used, showing little detail. Her fingers trembled subtly, not from cold, but an intangible dread curling inside. The old brass knocker on the door was cold beneath her palm as she reached out to ring it. No answer. She knocked instead, a hesitant rap, uncertain. The door creaked and swung inward wider than expected. "Hello?" Mara called softly into the dim hallway. No reply. The late sun leaked only a faint glow from frost-gathered windows. She stepped in. The door clicked shut behind her. Instantly, a heavy, stale scent invaded her senses, dust tangled with something she couldn't place. Old paper? Faint perfume? She shook the thought away. The house was quiet, but every creak in the wooden floor echoed like a warning. Mara's heart rate quickened as the darkness swallowed her silhouette, but her training kicked in. Wherever the client was, they needed her to walk through this house, evaluate its selling potential. Carefully she flicked on the flashlight on her phone. The narrow beam cut through the gloom, painting outlines of furniture draped in sheets, and walls lined with faded wallpaper peeling like dead skin. Then she turned a corner and stopped, breath hitching. There on the mantelpiece sat a framed photograph of a woman, her. It was Mara. Crisp, confident, the same smile she wore only yesterday. Her hand instinctively touched the glass, icy despite the warm air. Confusion pounded at her ears. How had this photograph gotten here? And who had taken it? She swallowed, gripping the phone tighter. As the light caught the frame, her eyes darted to the walls of the living room. Every surface was littered with photos of her. Images from birthdays, candid shots, black and white portraits she had no memory anyone else possessed. The walls were a mosaic of her life. Her heart sped up again, breath catching in her throat. Who had made this? Why? She stepped closer to the fireplace mantel, fingers fully shaking now. An envelope was taped beneath the picture, a note inside in elegant, looping handwriting. "Welcome, Mara. I've been waiting. Come look deeper." Her instincts screamed for her to leave. Yet, the pull of the mystery rooted her to the spot. She pocketed the note and moved further into the house. The next room was a study, cluttered with open books and drawers half pulled. On the desk sat a leather-bound journal with her name stamped on the cover. With guarded fingers, she opened it. Inside were pages filled not with her handwriting but with entries detailing her daily routines, personal habits, even conversations she had thought were private. The chilling truth dawned. Someone had been observing her life intently, crafting this house as some grotesque shrine. Mara's mind raced. Was this client a stalking lunatic? And if so, how did they know she'd be the one to show this house tonight? A sudden noise behind her made Mara spin, phone raising like a weapon. A slow, measured voice pierced the silence. "I hoped you'd find it on your own." Mara's eyes adjusted, making out a figure in the doorway, a tall man with a calm expression. The faint light caught his sharp jawline and deep-set eyes that bore into hers. "Who are you?" she demanded, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. "Someone who knows you better than you realize," he said, stepping into the glow. "This isn't just a house. It's your life, laid bare. Page by page, moment by moment. I built this for you. To watch. To wait." Mara swallowed hard, feeling cold sweat bead down her spine. The man's words were veiled threats, promises of a dark obsession. "Why me?" she pressed. "Because you're important. Because you run from your past like shadows chase the light. And I'm here to make sure you don't run anymore." His smile was thin and cruel. Mara's mind flicked through 1,000 thoughts, neighbors, friends, anyone who might harbor a grudge. But no one fit this cold, precise stalking puppet master she faced. The man advanced, slow deliberate steps echoing. Mara's instincts screamed run. She pivoted and dashed back into the hallway. Heart pounding, she tried to remember the layout she'd pieced together in seconds from the house's worn floor plan on her phone. Ahead was the front door. She reached for the handle, it was locked. Panic surged through her veins like wildfire. She twisted the knob frantically, jiggled it, but the door refused to give in. The man's footsteps grew closer, his voice dripping with dark amusement. "No need for that, Mara. Stay and play. There's more to see." She scampered down the stairs to the basement, hoping to find another exit, but even there, heavy plywood boards blocked the windows. The air grew colder, damp and heavy. The walls, Mara realized with dread, were plastered with even more photographs of her, but this time the images were distorted, nightmarish, a twisted mirror of her face adorned with bruises, tears, and fear. She gagged and turned, knocking over a broken chair. The crash echoed wildly. The man's voices seemed to multiply from all sides now, a chorus of menace. "You can't hide, Mara." Her breath came in ragged bursts. Suddenly, the basement light flickered and died, plunging her into total darkness. She fumbled through the shallow pockets of her coat until her phone screen flared back on. The camera's harsh lens revealed the room in grainy grayscale. In the dim beam, she spotted a narrow door at the far end, perhaps a utility hatch. Crawling forward, Mara forced the trapdoor open, steeling herself against the chill-seeped air below. Climbing through the hole, scraped and breathless, she found herself in an underground tunnel. Its narrow width was coated in thick dust and spider webs. The floor was uneven but seemed to lead toward the street outside. Mara started crawling, driven by raw survival instinct. Behind her, the sound of the basement light flickering back on and distant footsteps chased her resolve. The morning wind intensified as she emerged on the other side of the house, in the backyard near a dense thicket of trees. She scrambled up and flashed the light around. None of the neighbors' windows showed a sign of life. After some time fumbling through her phone, she managed to call the police, her fingers trembling as she recounted the ordeal. The officers arrived within 30 minutes, their presence a balm to her shattered nerves. They combed through the house with forensic teams uncovering more harrowing details, hidden cameras, microphones, even a complex digital network that had monitored Mara's movements for months. The man was long gone, leaving only chilling clues. A single cigarette butt with DNA markers not yet matched in any database and a cryptic message scrawled on the inside of a wall panel. "You can never escape the story written for you." In the days that followed, Mara found herself grappling with a terrifying truth. The lines between safety and vulnerability blurred forever. The house had been a trap, a mirror of her life weaponized by a ghost who knew her deepest fears and secrets. Mara's friends urged her to take a break, to disappear for a while, but Mara was resolute. She started piecing her life back together like layered fragments of shattered glass. She traced her past encounters, old acquaintances, any cracked window through which her stalker might have slipped. The investigation stalled, but Mara refused to be a victim. She hired security experts, installed advanced systems, and even relocated to a different city. Yet the house lingered in her mind, a claustrophobic cage of memories and menace. One evening, when the wind blew just right and the leaves rustled down Helmswood Lane, Mara stood outside a brand-new apartment. The shadows whispered promises, but she folded her arms, steadying her breath. She had survived the wrong house. And now she would write her own story. For more stories like in, subscribe.